Hello, chess fans. Welcome to another episode of Chess Chat, a program brought to you live from the Rollstone Bank and Trust Studios at Fitchburg Access Television. I am your host, George Marajanian, Program Director of the Wachusett Chess Club at Fitchburg State University. This club, the second oldest chess club in Massachusetts, meets every Wednesday evening from 6 to 10:30 in rooms 163 and 165 of the McKay Complex at the university. And with me for this 207th episode of Chess Chat is our award-winning director, Darren Dame of Fitchburg, recipient of FATV's very prestigious Boulder Award in 2009, and now approaching his 19th consecutive year as director of Chess Chat. And that's a record for FATV. There has been no other director of any program at FATV that has had a director that long on the station. And assisting Darren in the control room and also on the set with set preparation and camera work is fellow resident and longtime Wachusett Chess Club member Brian Bigelow. And sitting across from me is my longtime associate and trusty co-host, Dave Kuchar, who's a multi-talented guy. Dave, in addition to being a very active match and tournament player, is a chess writer. He's the author of a couple of books. One of them is titled Progressive Tactics, Challenging Tactics, and also another one I think is titled Don't Play Like Me. These are tactics from the games of a chess hobbyist. So chess writing is part of Dave's makeup, but he's also a chess photographer. He's taken many hundreds of chess photos, and that we have used on Chess Chat, but we've also used actually elsewhere. A great photographer. And in addition to all of that, Dave is actually the chief assistant tournament director at the Wachusett Chess Club. He's certified by the U.S. Chess Federation as a tournament director. Well, Dave, I've told our viewers a lot about you, and again, there's a lot to tell about you. But what we're going to do today, Dave, is to do a report to our viewers on a major event that ended just a week ago today. It was held. It was the New England Open, which is actually the championship for New England, that was held at Stonehill College in northeastern Massachusetts, which is near Brockton. Yep. And we have now a new New England champion, and he is a player that we have done numerous programs on in the past. Right. The winner of this year's New England Open, the 84th New England Open, is Grandmaster Alexander Ivanov. And we've done numerous programs on Alexander Ivanov. Why? Why have we done numerous programs on Alexander Ivanov?
Well, because he's won the New England Open many times before.
Yes.
He's won the Mass Open many times before.
Yes, in fact, he has won the Massachusetts Open, which is the Massachusetts State Championship, 15 times. Actually, he did it last year. In 2020, he was the champion. 2024, yes. And this year, he's done it 50 times as a state champion, starting in 1988, by the way. I was there for his first time. He immigrated to the United States. Grandmaster Alexander, have we shown a photo of Alexander? We can show it because he's the winner of this tournament. There he is at the board. He's 69 years old, was born in Russia, immigrated to the United States with his wife, Esther Epstein, who, by the way, Esther Epstein, who's a women international master. Yep. She won it. She's a two-time U.S. women's champion, his wife is. But back to Alexander, he actually, again, as I say, 15 times as a state champion. And what else can we say about Alex? He's also a former U.S. champion, co-champion. In 1989, he tied for first in the U.S. championship with Patrick Wolf. We've done programs on Patrick Wolf, and also on Nick DeFermin, another Grandmaster.
Really?
So yes, so he was U.S. champion back actually in 19. Yeah, exactly.
Back when, roughly?
He was the U.S. champion before we even started Chess Chat in October 2006, 1989.
1989.
A year after he came to this country, he was co-champion in that year.
Okay.
All right. So what else can we say about this tournament?
Well, one thing we should say is, first of all, it's amazing that, at his age, 69, he beat out, the current New England Open champion and
who is the current U.S.
Polyanikov.
He won. He defeated in this tournament, the 84th New England Open that he won. Ivanov did. He beat the 2024 New England champion, which was Polyanikov, who, as I say, won the 2025 Massachusetts Open, the state championship.
Right.
And you did one program with me last year when Polyanikov won the New England Open, and you and Mike Camiso, our chief TD at the Washington Chess Club, did a program just 3 months ago.
Right.
About Polyanikov winning the
Mass
Open, the state championship. Yeah.
But the other key thing to mention, aside from being the champion over people much younger than him, is that he had already clinched it with a round to go, which is just like unheard of. Yes. He could have just resigned on move one, and he had already clinched the championship.
Right. And he scored 5.5 points out of 6.
Right. So he was 5-0 going into the last round, and there was nobody even within a point of him.
He already clinched it.
He had already clinched it.
With round 5, he had clinched it, first place. Now, in the last round, he faced a international master that we have done programs on, and Darren, our director, has a photo of International Master Denis Shmelov. Do we have a good photo of Denis that we can show our viewers? There is Denis Shmelov, who actually we've done programs on Denis. We've presented games played by Denis. But in the last round, Ivanov and Denis Shmelov here drew their game.
And was it a very quick draw?
I don't know how many moves it was. No, actually, it was longer than usual.
Really?
It wasn't a quick draw that I remember.
Okay.
I would have to look that up. But I know that actually Denis Shmelov finished tied for 5th in the tournament. Both Polyanikov, by the way, who's a FIDE master, a World Chess Federation master, and Denis Shmelov, who's an international master, and Ivanov were closely rated. Very closely rated. Polyanikov was the highest rated player in the tournament. His rating at the start of the tournament was actually 2460. That was his rating at the start. Shmelov was the second highest rated player, not by 2447 was his rating, and Alexander Ivanov was rating 2443. But as a result of the performance of these three players, they were the favorites.
Right.
One of them had to be the heavy favorite, but Alexander Ivanov gained 17 rating points as a result of his performance, while Denis Shmelov lost 4 points, and Polyanikov, the defending New England champion, lost 10 points.
Oh.
So there was the exchange of points.
So
some lose, some win.
Ivanov is now the highest rated of the three.
That's right, exactly, with 2460, exactly. Now, this was a tournament that consisted of 3 sections, the New England Open, and you had the championship section, which the Polyanikov, Shmelov, and Ivanov played, along with 4 other masters. There was only 7 masters in the 33-player championship section. That's all there were. There was not that many masters. Usually, in past years, there have been more masters.
Right. You said in general it was a lower turnout.
A lower turnout than last year. Last year's New England Open drew 186 players, and it was held at the Westford Regency Inn and Conference Center. Okay. But this year's tournament had 3 sections as opposed to 5 sections last year that was played in Westford. But we had 4 players from the Wachusett Chess Club who played in this. We have photos of 2 of them. I'll mention the other 2 that we don't have photos of. We had Jack Appelmans, who's joined the Wachusett Club within the past month, and also a young player by the name of Saksham Chowdhury.
Okay. Yeah.
He's also played in the tournament. But we have Darren has photos of the 2 players that we have photos of, and let's show a photo of Mike Urbonas. Do we have a photo? There's Mike Urbonas. Mike Urbonas actually is the one who supplied us with these photos for the tournament of Ivanov and Shmelov. And Mike Urbonas,
current club champion.
He is now, yes, he won the Wachusett Chess Club Championship last year. He is the defending club champion. By the way, our club champion just started this past Wednesday, and he is, again, the defending champion. He played in the under 2000 section, Mike did. He's also the vice president of the Massachusetts Chess Association. So that's another office he holds. But the playing in that same section with Mike in the under 2000 section was young Dwi Nguyen. Let's show a picture. There's Dwi, young Dwi, who's playing, by the way, with you in the club championship. Exactly. So he's an up-and-coming player at the club, and we look forward to a good performance by him in the club championship. So what else can we say about the New England Open that I have not said that I have more information about? I can look up things about, well, no. We can actually start the game that we've selected. What we have selected is probably the most critical game that Ivanov played in this year's New England Open. It was in round 4. Against the defending New England champion, Danila Polyanikov. And they met in round 4, and Ivanov had white in the game against Polyanikov.
So I think they were both 3-0 at this point.
Yes,
I believe.
I believe you're right. Yeah, because Ivanov had won his first 3 games, and now it was facing Polyanikov in round 4. Now, what did Alexander Ivanov play? And we're going to start the game right now. What did he play as his first move in his game against Polyanikov?
E4.
Okay.
The most common opening move, and a move that leads usually to open games.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense. Now let me actually look for the game score so I can follow with you. Okay, so in response to E4, Danila Polyanikov responded with the pawn to E5. All right, so we now have what we call a double king pawn opening. But again, these are E pawns. In our world, these are E pawns. In the old world, this is called king pawns.
King pawns,
But anyways, how did Ivanov continue on move 2?
So again, the most common move in this position, knight to F3, attacking the pawn on E5.
Okay, so the pawn is under attack and it needs to be defended. Although it doesn't have to be defended. Actually, you know, there are a number of players who would not defend that pawn in this position. They would counterattack. And one good way to counterattack is to play the knight on G8 to F6. And this is known, what is this known as? Has a name?
The Petrov or the Russian.
Right. Either the Petrov defense after the Russian player Alexander Petrov, or also known as the Russian defense. So this is a counterattack, which is very, very popular, by the way. Very, very popular with chess players. But the most commonly played response to knight F3, attacking the pawn on E5, is to play knight C6. And that is what Polyanikov did. All right. So how did Ivanov continue on move 3 now? He has choices here.
Again, this is one of the most common moves, bishop to B5, so he's attacking the defender of this pawn.
All right, okay. Now, do we, at this point, after playing bishop B5, as Ivanov did, do we have a name that we can attach to this opening?
Again, you've got like 2 names, Ruy Lopez.
Ruy Lopez.
Or the Spanish.
Right. Now, do you know why this is called? It's called Ruy Lopez in English-speaking countries, especially. Most of the world will call this the Spanish opening. Okay. Now, but why is this called the Ruy Lopez opening?
I know it has to do with a book that is Ruy Lopez
Yes.
wrote like
Lopez
hundreds of years ago?
Well, many years ago. In fact, Ruy Lopez was a 16th century Spanish priest. He was Ruy Lopez de Segura. He actually wrote a book that was published in Spain in 1561. That's how long ago it was published. And he wrote it, and he criticized a book that was written previously in 1512 by a Portuguese player by the name of Damiano. Have you heard of Damiano?
Yep.
There's a defense named after him, Damiano. But Damiano, who his profession was, he's a pharmacist. His regular job was as a pharmacist, but he was also a very strong chess player. Mm-hmm. And he actually wrote a book in Italian. Although he was Portuguese, he wrote it in Italian. It was published in Rome in 1512. And Ruy Lopez, years later, 1561, came out with a book that says, he says, I'm going to give you some more than what Damiano gave you. But he also criticized Damiano, because Damiano wrote in his book, after knight f3 was played on the second move, he said the best move was knight c6. Yeah. What Ruy Lopez wrote in his book says, no. He says knight c6 is not good because of bishop. He pointed out bishop e5 is the best response to bishop e5. And because of that, because of Ruy Lopez saying, hey, the best response to knight c6, which he says is not as good as some other move, they attached the name Ruy Lopez to the opening.
Okay.
But the most the world calls this the Spanish opening. Mm-hmm. We in this country, England, Australia, New Zealand, English-speaking countries, Ruy Lopez. Mm-hmm. This is the Ruy Lopez opening. Okay, but I digress, as I always do. Here now, how did Ivanov respond to this? What he did is what we call putting the question to the bishop. Yep. Now, he could have actually developed another piece, played the knight out to f6, which is very popular.
Counterattack.
Counterattack. Yep. This is known as the Berlin defense. That's the name, Berlin defense. But what Polyanikov did, a6, attacks the bishop. It's called putting the question to the bishop. Right. What do you plan to do here? Right. Do you plan to take my knight on c6? Or are you retreating? Right. And what did Ivanov do?
And it was Morphy who came up with this idea, right?
Yes. So. Paul Morphy, the great American player, the 20th century, 19th century player. Paul Morphy is the one that recommended a6, attack the bishop immediately, and find out what White's intentions are. All right, so what did Ivanov do?
In this case, Ivanov retreats to a4.
Right. He plays bishop a4, retreats it. Okay, so now it gives Polyanikov the opportunity now to develop another piece at this point. And he plays knight f6. Now he's attacking the pawn on e4. Okay. And I should be watching the monitor very closely so I don't actually run too fast.
No, we're good.
Okay. So now what is Ivanov doing now on his next move, which is move 5?
So he actually sort of ignores this threat in castles.
Which he can do.
Which he can do.
Yeah. This is playable to ignore the attack on the pawn and just simply safely put the king in a safe place.
Yeah, because Black sort of gets into some trouble if he tries to take that, I believe, right?
Which he does.
Does he?
Now, Polyanikov doesn't have to take that pawn, but he does take the pawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he could have actually just simply, continue with development. But he plays knight takes e4. So he takes that pawn. This is known as the open variation of the Ruy Lopez. Okay. So how is Ivanov continuing here in this position? How does he follow through?
So he plays d4.
Okay. We have now a double attack on that e-pawn.
On the e-pawn, right.
All right. So we have d4 attacking the pawn on e5.
And he opens up the line for that bishop to develop.
All right. All right, so what Polyanikov does in response, he plays the pawn to b5 and attacks the bishop on a4, which only has one move to save itself.
Right.
There's only one move for white here.
Back to b3.
Back to b3. Okay, so back to b3, and I got to be very careful where I am here. All right, so now here is what Polyanikov does. He plays the pawn on d7 to d5. So now he's able to, does he do that?
Yes.
Yes, he does that.
Yes.
D5. Yes, he does play D5. Okay. It defends the knight, for one thing. All right, so now it is actually, yeah, right, yeah, exactly. Do I have this right?
Yeah, the eighth move, it's white's eighth move.
Yeah, right. Okay. So how does Ivanov do? It's eighth move, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's down a pawn, he's gonna win it back right here.
Right. But by winning the pawn back, now doesn't white now have a threat now by taking that pawn back? We have actually, I see a double attack on this pawn on D5.
Sure.
With the queen on D1 and the bishop.
Yeah.
White is threatening actually to go ahead a pawn.
And win a second pawn,
A second pawn.
Yep.
So Polyanikov knows that, he sees that, and he says, well, I have to defend that pawn on D5. So he plays the bishop on C8, the E6. Yep. So now he's adequately defending the pawn on D5 with bishop E6.
And up to this point, this is all very common.
Yeah, this is what we call book. This has all been analyzed. And by the way, this position that we see right now has been played millions, tens of millions of times around the world. Yeah. So it's not strange to anybody who's really serious about chess. Okay, it is now Ivanov's ninth move coming up. Now, there are choices here for white here.
Yep.
Now, what Ivanov played here is something I had not seen, I was not familiar with. The move that I most seen in the years I've been playing chess is a move C3. And the reason for that, because
we'll
you see that, C3.
Show it, yep.
And the reason why C3 is played, because if the pawn stays on C2, there is a way for black to eliminate white's light square bishop by playing the knight here to A5, and that bishop cannot save it. It can be captured by the knight.
Yep.
But in order to preserve that knight, to hold on to that light square knight, C3 would have to be a way to vacate that square on C2 for that bishop to retreat to. But Ivanov didn't do that. What did he do instead?
But the other very common move is that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So those are both much more common
so that
moves.
If the knight went over to go here, at least on a recapture here, he could take back with the knight for one thing. Yeah. But it develops a piece. I mean, he's developing another piece.
Sure. Yep.
But Ivanov chose the third alternative, which is what?
It has been played, but it's not very frequently played. It's queen to
It's not as
E2.
popular as both C3, the pawn to C3, or knight BD2. Okay, so the queen E2. All right. So now there's two ways that black can continue to try to eliminate that light squared bishop on B3. He could go to knight A5 to do it, but no. Going here, knight C5, he now has that knight attack the bishop on B3. All right. So it is now Ivanov's 10th move. What does he do?
He brings the rook over to the D file.
Rook D1. Okay.
So he's pinning this pawn. This pawn can't come off the D file because it's pinned to the queen.
Exactly right, yeah. All right. Now, unless if black's not going to take that bishop, we have a triple attack on this pawn right now. So the threat of actually taking that pawn and winning that pawn with the threefold attack. So the purpose of knight C5 was to eliminate that bishop on B3, and he does that. If Polyanika plays knight takes B3, eliminates the bishop. Now, here's the big question. How does Ivanov recapture that knight on B3? There's two ways to do it.
Yep.
It's either with the A pawn or with the C pawn.
Yeah, and the general rule is to always capture towards the center unless there's some good reason not to.
Yes.
So to capture this way towards the center.
Right.
But we're a little mystified. This seems like it can't possibly be as good.
Right.
He captures with the C pawn, so he's capturing away from the center.
But the attempt is actually to open up the file. But it's not totally clearly open.
I guess,
it's semi-open.
To maybe put a rook on the C file.
Yes. Put pressure. Yes, right. Okay. So, but he chose to recapture with the C pawn.
Yeah, I'd love to know what his thinking was with doing it that way.
Okay. All right. It's Polyanikov's move. Now he has to continue with his development of pieces. He plays the bishop on F8 to E7. So that's where he goes.
Yep.
Yeah, all right. It is now Ivanov's 12th move. How does he continue here?
So he also develops knight to c3.
Okay. Now, is this
So pawn's attacked twice and defended twice.
But it's adequately defended.
Yep.
So there's no danger on Black's part. All right. So this gives Polyanikov the opportunity now to castle at this point, and that's what he does. That's his move. All right. And that was actually move 12 for Danila. All right, it's now Ivanov's 13th move. How does he continue here?
So now he plays bishop out to e3, developing his last minor piece.
Right, or minor piece, right. Yep. That's a minor piece, bishop e3. All right, now, here is what Polyanikov does. This queen on d8 now moves up to d7. He vacates the square he's on, because we're going to see why he did this, why he actually moved that queen to vacate that square. So that was his move, queen d7, move 13. And what does Ivanov do now on move 14?
So he plays rook up to d2.
Now, is the plan actually to vacate the d1 square to bring the other rook?
I'm assuming he's going to bring
double the rooks and put pressure on that d pawn.
Which is very standard.
It seems like that's what he's doing, putting for pressure. But now we're going to see why Polyanikov vacated the d8 square with the queen by moving to d7. He brings the knight back to d8. Doesn't bring this rook over to d8, but decides he's going to bring the knight back to d8 because the purpose, we're going to find out very soon, is to reinforce the defense of this pawn by playing the pawn to c6. That was the whole purpose of this redeployment of the knight. Yep. Is to occupy that square on d8 to play c6 later. All right, so after knight d8, it is now Ivanov's 15th move. How does he continue?
So bishop to g5.
Okay, all right. All right, so actually he could actually play that earlier. You know, when he played bishop e3, but he chose actually to hold back. He just developed the bishop to e3, but now he's decided, okay, I think I'm going to bring that bishop to g5 and actually offer the exchange of bishops here. Yeah. So, but what the Polyanikov does is not take that bishop. He said, no, right now I want to be able to reinforce the defense of this pawn on d5 by playing c6. So it's going to make it solid defense of that pawn on d5 with the c6 move. All right, what does Ivanov do now? It's his actually 16th move coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, so he continues.
So he takes the bishop on e7.
Okay, so he is the one that captures.
Yep.
And of course, Polyanikov only has one move. He must recapture the bishop that took his bishop.
Right.
And the only move that does that is queen takes e7. So here we are with exchanges. We've exchanged two minor pieces. Now, white has given up a bishop pair, whereas actually Polyanikov has given up a bishop and a knight. Yeah. He still has his light squared bishop.
Yeah.
Okay, so now how do we continue here? It's actually whose move is it now? It's actually
White's
move.
17th move.
Now he plays what?
h3.
Now why did he play h3?
Well, I would say it's a prophylactic move to prevent the knight from coming here, having the bishop from coming here and pinning the knight.
Excellent. That is why h3 is played. It stops the knight from coming and pinning that knight. Yeah. So that's a good move. All right. It is now Polyanikov's move. So now he plays the rook on f8, which is doing nothing here, and brings it over and brings it to e8. Rook e8 is what Polyanikov played. All right. How does Ivanov continue here? Move 18. Does he double on the d file?
He doesn't double.
No.
He matches.
No, he decides
the rook on e8 with the rook on e1.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So he brings it to the e file as opposed to bringing it to the d file and doubling on the d file.
Yeah.
All right. So after rook e1, all right. So Polyanikov, I don't know how much time he spent on this next move, but he says, I got to do something here. I got to come up with a plan. So he plays the pawn to a5. Is this now to continue with the advance of the a pawn?
I think so. Yeah.
And try to open up the a file
for his rook.
Yeah. All right, so after A5, which Polyanikov played, how does Ivanov continue here? It's his now 19th move, right?
Yeah. So he plays the knight in front of the pawn.
Right. Yeah.
So preventing that pawn from going anywhere, which
Right.
is nice because right now this pawn is blocking his own bishop and he wants to keep it there.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, Polyanikov continues with his plan. He just advances the A pawn. He went to A5. Now it's time to go to A4. Just advance that pawn, and try to threaten to capture the pawn on B3. All right. So the pawn is on A4. What do you have as the evaluate? Our computer, our Stockfish computer, has some. Is there still a slight advantage for white? Is given. How is the?
Oh yeah. So because by playing A4, it says white has a slight advantage.
A slight advantage. The computer evaluates it as.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is now Ivanov's 20th move. What does he do here? What's his move?
So it's interesting. So he ignores what's going on here and starts his own attack.
But does he have a threat by playing F4? Is there a threat to advance the pawn even further?
One of the things is to advance further.
Attack the bishop.
Attack the bishop. And the interesting thing is he probably should have done it sometime later.
Yes.
And he doesn't.
He doesn't. Okay. So here's what the Polyanikov does. On his move, which is move 20, he captures the pawn on B3 with the A pawn.
Yep.
A takes B3. Okay, A takes B3. Now here's something that's rather interesting. After he captures A takes B3, I know a lot of players, and we showed this position to a lot of players, they would actually take with the knight.
I mean, I think I would would take with the knight rather than double up my pawns.
But what Ivanov did was capture with his pawn and double his pawns.
Yeah.
So that probably is very surprising to a number of players to see that the white would actually take with the A pawn and now have double pawns.
Sure,
right.
but again, one of the things they say about players at like Ivanov's level of Grandmaster is they know when to break the general rules.
Right. Exactly.
That the rest of us tend to follow blindly.
True. Okay, so it's now Polyanikov's move, and Polyanikov says, you know what? I see that this is coming. This is a threat of advancing the pawn on F5, and I said also white also had the opportunity to take that bishop with the knight, even earlier, but Polyanikov says no. I've got to hold on to this light square, but by retreating at the D7, and that's what he did. He played the bishop D7 on the 21st move. That's his move, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it is now Ivanov's 22nd move. What is he doing here?
Well, see, the interesting thing is, like we said earlier, he could have at this point just kept on pushing.
He kept on pushing.
This pawn is guarded by the knight, so it can't be captured.
Now, in our computer evaluation, did the computer actually like
that much better?
The computer Stockfish likes advancing the pawn to F5.
Yeah, basically, it repeatedly was thinking, go push that pawn to F5.
But Ivanov didn't do that.
Which Ivanov didn't do.
He didn't advance the F pawn.
No.
He chose to do what?
So queen to F2. Which does a couple. I guess partially. It helps to support a push there, but it also has, I guess, the possibility of bringing the queen to G3. So he plays queen to F2.
Okay. So queen F2 is his move. All right. So now, what Polyanikov did now on his 22nd move is now play the knight on D8 to B7. Yep. Okay. So that's where he goes. Okay.
And I guess one thing we can say about this is it's fairly complex, and an indication of the complexity is the fact that for a number of moves now and going forward, neither player is finding what the computer thinks are the best moves.
This is an example of a positional chess.
Yeah.
There's two types of chess. There's tactical chess, and there's also positional chess.
Right.
Positional chess is the hardest to play, as far as at our level. Amateur players find positional chess more challenging.
Right, because there are no immediate threats.
Right.
And you need to come up with long-term plans and figure out where's the best squares.
So there's no tactical tricks. They're not trying to win quickly, but they're jockeying for. There's a lot of jockeying for position, which makes it very difficult for a lot of chess players to understand about. Because there's strategy involved, which is long range. This is long range planning. Where tactics is what's immediate short term. Yeah. So this is hard for a lot of players to understand this type of chess. Yeah, positional chess.
But we can say even at this level, you know, it's hard, even at this Grandmaster level, it's hard for them because the computer's saying they're missing the best moves here.
The computer is coming up with other moves, with better moves according to the computer.
So none of this is simple.
No. Okay. So after knight b7, what did Ivanov do now on move 23? How does he continue?
Okay. So again, the computer wanted him to push that pawn.
Push the pawn
to f5.
But instead Ivanov plays
rerouting his knight.
Exactly.
Knight to c2.
Now, what is the plan? What is actually White's plan? Only Ivanov would know what he's planning to do here. All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure because he's going to end up putting it right back there again. So.
Okay. So in this position, Polyanika's move, he plays this bishop was moved a number of times, goes back to where it came from. Bishop f5 it was there before. Now it goes to f5. Bishop f5. And of course, the computer actually has
the knight come here.
No, it likes it. Yes, it likes by coming here, there would be a threat. Knight a5 would be attacking this pawn, threatening to take the pawn on b3. So there would be an immediate threat after. That's the computer move. It's the logical move for the computer to make with an immediate attack on the pawn on b3. But instead, Polyanika played bishop f5 instead. Okay, it is now move 24. What does Ivanov do?
Ivanov puts his knight right back on d4 again.
So he goes back to where he came from. Knight d4. All right.
But now he's hitting this bishop.
But now he's a threat naturally. He's attacking the bishop, undefended bishop. So Polyanika has to save it. So he retreats it once again. Bishop d7. Oh, by the way, we have two threats. Not the big threat is attacking this, but there's also, isn't there the threat also this pawn here is undefended. So this move is forced. Bishop d7 to defend the pawn on c6. Okay, so it is now Ivanov's 25th move. How does he continue? What did he do?
Again, you know, the computer still wants him to push that pawn.
It still likes the pushing the pawn. But Ivanov
ripping open the black king side, but
plays queen f3.
Ivanov puts his queen on f3.
Okay. All right. Now here is where Polyanikov plays the pawn to b4 and attacks the knight on c3. All right. So that's going to force that knight to move. Okay. And where is that knight going? I only see how many squares? I see B1, D1,
E2.
and E2. Only 3 squares to go to. And what square does Ivanov go to after that?
E2.
Goes down. Okay, so he's on E2. Knight C E2. Here is where Polyanika says, okay, it's time to attack. He plays the pawn up to C5 and attacks the pawn on D4 with the C pawn. All right. So that's going to force that knight to move.
Well, it doesn't quite force it because, again, the computer has a slight preference.
The computer has
slight preference, which says, you know, the queen could take this pawn.
Oh, that's true. And by doing that,
pawn and counterattack.
Yes, right. So the computer actually, so that was the computer likes this move better. Queen takes on D5 with the attack on B7. But Ivanov. I wonder if Ivanov actually evaluated that.
My guess is he did.
He probably saw that he could have done that. But he chooses actually to do what instead?
Withdraw the knight back to c2.
Goes back to knight c2. All right. So it is now Polyanika's move. Believe it or not, he brings his bishop. Doesn't go. Now I think the computer does not like this next move by Polyanikov. He goes back to f5 with the bishop. What's this all about? Okay. The computer does not like this move, right?
Right.
He said the computer said it prefers actually
putting it here. And then probably defending defending the bishop and then pushing.
They're pushing
to attack.
Right.
You know,
attack
the bishop would have attacked the queen.
Yeah. Redeploy the bishop. Put on c6. So, but Polyannikov did not play it this way. He played bishop f5.
But again, this shows how complex this is. That players.
Yes, exactly.
Here's the defending New England champion.
Right.
Missing some of the best stuff, but.
So what does Ivanov do in response to bishop f5? He does what we call gaining a tempo on move 23.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But there's two ways. There's two ways, right? He can gain a tempo.
Oh, I see.
He could have gained a tempo this way.
Attack the bishop with this knight. The thing is to attack that bishop f5. But what Ivanov chose is to use that knight on c
E3.
to bring it to e.
Yeah. Is that? Did I get that right? Yeah. Yes.
Knight e3. Yep. Yeah. He played that, which now attacks the bishop on f5 again. All right. But this allows Polyannikov now, because this pawn is under attack now twice, but now the bishop here attacks the queen.
And if he had attacked it by going knight to g3, this would not have been possible.
That's right. He couldn't have done it that way. Yeah. So now on bishop e4, which Polyannikov, it is now what does Ivanov choose to do here? Now does he retreat? Does he retreat the queen?
He does not. He does not.
Doesn't do that.
This is the sort of thing where you got to do your calculation and
There's a lot of calculation.
Make sure you get it right, because he's going to take this pawn.
Right.
Counterattack the black queen.
Right. Exactly. All right. Now in response to that, knight takes d5. Polyannikov now captures the queen on f3 with the bishop. Bishop takes f3. So he does that, which forces, however, his queen is gone, and Ivanov now has to regain, get
takes the black queen.
The black queen.
With check.
With check.
Yep.
And there's only one move to recapture here.
Yep.
Rook takes e7. He takes that, which now allows Ivanov now to take back, with only one move here, and the recapture, which doubles these pawns. These f pawns are doubled now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So
okay. We'll move right along here. Okay.
No. I think we're okay.
Okay.
I was just going to say that so white. Let's see. White is technically up one pawn, but he's got two sets of doubled pawns. So. And
the evaluation is still a plus for white. White is still given the slight advantage, or still it's considered
slight advantage.
Slight advantage for white, according to the computer. The evaluation.
but just a small advantage.
Okay. Polyannikov's move. He plays f5, the pawn to f5. Evidently, he doesn't. He plays f5.
Yeah. G6 was another possibility.
The computer liked g6, right?
Yeah.
All right. F5. Okay.
I think his intent is to stop.
So what does Ivanov do now on move 32? Does he move 32? Does he attack that? Can that pawn be attacked on move 32 with move 30?
I guess he could have. Yeah, he could have played knight here to attack it.
Which he did.
Is that what he did?
He did it.
Oh,
that's what he did. Was there another move? Was there another move he could have played? For example, maybe could he actually
rook to c1 was again suggested.
Right.
I think by the computer.
Well, although this attacking this, but of course this is defended by the knight here.
Yeah.
Okay. So but he plays
knight to g3.
It's a logical move. Have the knight attack the pawn on f5.
Yeah.
Of course, now there's two ways. There's different ways. You can bring the rook. Be a waste of time to bring the rook over to this file to defend the pawn. The easy way just plays g6,
Yep.
And that's what Polyannikov did. G6 is what he played. Okay, it is now Ivanov's move, and he now does what? He now doubles.
Now he doubles. Yeah.
Oh, and now this is. It's always good that if you have the opportunity to double rooks, especially on an open file.
Right.
It's advisable to take advantage of that and double rooks on the file, which he does. Okay, so here is what after rook ed1. Now here is where I think the computer does not like Polyannikov's next move. I think. Let's actually play what Polyannikov played. He played rook down to a2, attacking the pawn, which is right now defended by the rook on d2. But the computer does not like this move. I see, according to the analysis. Was there another move that the computer likes better? Was actually
it liked bringing this rook back. I'm not sure why, to be honest. Oh,
well, they probably don't like the check. No,
maybe
it can't do the check.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not sure why, but
yeah. All right.
This sort of feels like burying the rook. Where
yes. Right.
It's got no mobility now.
Okay, but again, let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Whose move is now?
So now it's White's 34th move.
Oh, what did Ivanov do on move 34?
So knight to f1.
Knight to f1. Okay. All right.
Not sure where it's going. But.
Okay, but now we have a threat. Now Polyanikov has a threat. But now he plays knight a5, which attacks this pawn on b3. Okay.
Right.
So that is that's under attack. The pawn on b3 is now under attack. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So it's now Ivanov's move. What does he do?
So rook all the way down to d8, check.
So he leaves the defense of the pawn on b2 by bringing the rook with the check. Okay. And now the king has to move. The king is now forced to move, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this has to be a turning point in the game.
Yeah.
A big turning point in the game.
But do you understand why? Because I'm not fully aware of why.
No, I don't know either. Because actually,
king to g7 is supposedly much better. I'm not sure why.
Okay. Well, is it because
he's only got two choices?
There's only two choices.
Yeah.
But he chooses king f7, right?
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Yeah.
Well, maybe because of this, maybe because the rook would come over and attack this pawn here.
Oh, that's
forcing,
okay. Yep, sure.
Forcing the king to move back. But then what is accomplished though?
But then I guess if that happened, then this other rook could come down.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. Right. Yes. That's right. So that's what would happen. If the rook came over here, and the king came over, this other rook would come down, and there'd be trouble for black here.
Yeah.
All right. So, but he chose to play king f7, instead of king g7. All right. So where are we now? What move are we here?
Except so I guess So I guess he's going to show us why because he's going to play rook to a8. So now pinning the knight. If the knight takes, he drops the rook.
Exactly. So now this paralyzes this knight. It can't move because of the pin.
Right.
So
and then there also is a threat now of this other rook coming down and causing problems.
And this is why the computer earlier did not like this, bringing this rook down to a2 to put himself in this predicament, and then bringing the knight to a5, and now we have this pin. The knight is now pinned. Okay, so now this is a strong move here. Yeah, with the pin here. Okay, so so. Polyanikov says, okay, no, I gotta try to bust up these pawns here. He plays g5, hopefully deflect this pawn to take over here, so this rook can at least
take that
pawn on e5. Okay, so g5 is what Polyanikov does. Okay, as we move along,
so in fact, Ivanov does take the pawn.
And the idea Polyanikov wanted was to deflect that f-pawn so the rook could take the pawn on e5, and that's what he did. Rook takes e5, okay. And now what does Ivanov do? Check.
Rook down to d7 checks now.
Okay. Okay. This is now dangerous here.
Yeah.
Now instead of moving the king, trying to flee with the king, he's gonna block. He's gonna block with his rook.
Yep.
And that's what he did. Rook e7. He brings the rook as a blocker on his 38th move. Okay. What does Ivanov do now?
So he simply trades rooks.
Trades rook. Rook takes e7. Of course, there's only one response here. King has to recapture. King takes e7. That's his move. Okay. And what does Ivanov do now?
Go. So now,
okay.
So now this is a standard maneuver. Rook to a7 check.
Right.
Cuts right across. Now the king's got to move, and he's going to drop.
He's going to pick off that pawn. Yeah.
And now White's going to have two connected passed pawns.
Oh wow.
Which is going to decide the game.
So the king now the king's not going to move back. It's going to move forward here.
Yep.
And it moves to king e6. That's Polyanikov's move. Now, Ivanov was not actually rushing to take that pawn on a7. Instead, now he chose not to take it immediately. He said, no, this is still a pin here. This is still paralyzed here. I should start advancing with the pawns on the king side.
And not only is it a pin on the knight, it also prevents this because the knight's attack.
Right. Yeah.
So basically, black can't do anything over
black
here.
Black is paralyzed here.
Yeah. By that rook. So he
it gives him time to advance,
push H4.
advance the H pawn. Okay.
Yep.
So H4. Okay. Now here is a move that actually the computer does not like. Although I'm sure the computer analyzer is still saying white has the advantage here. Still.
I mean, it's desperate times for black
here. The computer actually what the computer wants black to do is to get out of this miss and bring the rook down here.
Yes.
So by playing it here, now we can threaten to take this.
Now the knight can take
and have a defending the rook.
Yeah.
So the computer says, look, you got to get yourself out of this mess of this pinned knight by bringing the rook to A1. But Polyanikov didn't do that. Instead, he plays the pawn to C4. His idea is by playing this, by allowing this as capture, he could advance the pawn to B3 and have the pawn be the one defending the rook.
Yeah.
But the computer said a better move would have played the rook down to A1.
Down here,
Okay. So after C4, which the computer does not like at all, what does Ivanov do in response to that?
So he just keeps on pushing
his
pawns.
Right. All right. So he plays H5. Okay. And Polyanikov now. He says, hey, now I can capture you with the pawn.
Sure, yep. So now
C takes B3.
Now it's guarding.
Now it gives it the opportunity now for the knight.
He can move the knight.
But unfortunately, this is the problem over here.
Yeah, he's just going to keep pushing. G6.
He plays G6, okay, and now he's threatening now to advance to queen. He moves away from promoting to a queen.
2 moves away, right?
Okay. And Polyanikov recaptures. H takes G6. Okay, that's what he does. And Ivanov just simply recaptures.
Takes right back.
Takes back.
And now there's no way to stop this pawn from promoting.
because the rook was kept by keeping the rook here. That was the advantage that the white had here. And this is where Polyanikov resigns. Because he realizes that he can't stop the promotion of this pawn, G-pawn, to a queen in 2 moves, which would be overwhelming and enough to win the game. So
now after this, Ivanov was 4-0.
He was 4, and in the fifth round, he played, I believe, a master by the name of Anton Barash. Anton Barash is one of 3 players who tied for 2nd through 4, I believe.
Okay.
If our chess chat viewers want to see the complete list of all the prize winners, starting with Ivanov first in the championship section, and the runners-up in the championship section, and the winners and the runners-up in the under 2000, under 15, they can go to masschess.org. That's the official website of the Massachusetts Chess Association. They can see a complete list of the winners' names and the scores. Now they won't see where they're from, where these players are from, where state or the city or state, but at least they'll get a complete list of all the prize winners. Now I want to point out that this tournament that was held at the Stonehill College in northeastern Massachusetts was organized by the Ocean State Chess Association, which is the official state affiliate for Rhode Island. And its president, Frank Delbonis, was the founder of Ocean State Chess Association. There was a Rhode Island Chess Association, which was the state affiliate, but there was another affiliate which was established. Frank Delbonis was the founder, and he challenged the Rhode Island Chess Association as the state affiliate. And the U.S. Chess Federation, after some years, I mean, they denied a challenge by the Ocean State Association to be the state chapter or the state affiliate. But recently, I think it was last year, they were granted. The Ocean State Chess Association is now officially recognized by the U.S. Chess Federation as the official state affiliate for Rhode Island. And Frank Delbonis, by the way, is one of the most active chess organizers, tournament directors. He, by the way, was an assistant tournament director at this New England Open at Stonehill College. The chief tournament director was a longtime tournament director, a national TD, Bob Messenger, who has been with the Massachusetts Chess Association for more than 35 years.
Yeah.
He is actually their treasurer, but he's also was the former president of the longtime president of the New England Chess Association. But Frank Delbonis, besides being the founder and president of the Ocean State Chess Association, is also the new New England Chess Association president. So he decided, he put in the bid to hold this year's New England Open at Stonehill College in Northeastern, and he decided on holding it at the college. I'm sure he did it for a number of reasons, primarily probably because the rental was probably less than he would have to pay at a hotel. Again, these tournaments in recent history have been held, the New England Open, have been held actually at the Westford Regency Inn and Conference Center in Westford, where, by the way, next month the Greater Boston Open will be held at that hotel in Westford. And in December, the annual Harry Nelson Pillsbury Memorial, named after the most famous Massachusetts-born player, Harry Nelson Pillsbury, that Harry Nelson Pillsbury Memorial Tournament will be held again at the Westford Regency Inn and Conference Center in Westford. So, but again, Frank Delbonis is a very active. He's actually organized. Not only does he is an organizer, TD, but he's involved in doing a lot for clubs in Rhode Island. Again, he's the prime mover as far as when it comes to Rhode Island chess. He's doing more in Rhode Island than anybody else. And again, he is the president of the New England Chess Association, and we applaud him for actually organizing this event, because no one else wanted to do it. Again, these tournaments are open to bid. If you are a state affiliate and you want to bid on a New England Open tournament, which is, by the way, is available now. Anybody who wants to bid, if there's a state affiliate, or not a state affiliate, any affiliate. You don't have to be a state affiliate. You can be just like a club. If the Wachusett Chess Club, our club, wanted to put in a bid to hold next year's New England Open, we could do that. But we choose not to because there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work in putting together a tournament like this. So I want to point something. Can I point something? I know you want to. I want to point out to our viewers that the New England Open, which actually is the championship for the New England Championship, before the first one was held in 1941. This one that was just held was the 84th. But before 1941, the New England champion was decided by match play. It wasn't decided by a tournament. It was only in 1941 they decided, hey, we're going to decide our New England champion not by two individuals playing a match, but we're going to have an open tournament and have multiple players get together and play what we call a Swiss tournament. And that started in 1941. And the last person to win the New England Championship by virtue of a match was Harold Morton, who was from Rhode Island, by the way. Harold Morton, but he tragically died in an automobile accident in Iowa in 1940. So in the next year, they said, okay, enough with the matches. We're going to start doing, tournaments, and they established the first New England Open in Labor Day. It's always held Labor Day weekend. They designated the holiday weekend as the time of the New England Open. So this is a very major event in New England, and again, we congratulate Alexander Ivanov for winning the New England Open. Again, he's a multi-time New England champion, a 15-time Massachusetts State champion. And we hope our Chess Chat viewers enjoyed the game you and I presented.
I was just going to say, hopefully, I was just going to put in a quick plug for Western Mass Chess Association. Has a tournament in Holyoke this coming Saturday, I believe it is.
Okay.
At the Holyoke Public Library.
That's September 13th, right?
13th,
okay.
I believe.
Well, goodbye to all our Chess Chat viewers, and we will present another interesting game, I assume, I hope, next time on Chess Chat.